this evening. My name's Jason Simmons. I'm your state party chair running for re-elect. It's been an honor this last year to be able to serve in that capacity. Where about a year ago plus, when Chairman Whatley was asked by President Trump to serve as the RNC chair and went up to Washington, D.C., President Trump and his team asked that I serve and step up to serve as the NCGOP back then. And it's been an honor of a lifetime to be able to serve and work with each and every one of you, rubbing shoulder to shoulders, especially this last election cycle, where we saw President Trump win by the largest margin, 3 points, and over 50% for the first time here in North Carolina, where we won early voting for the first time in our party's history. Folks, that's an accomplishment that we didn't think possible 10 years ago, 12 years ago. But the lessons that we learned right here in Charlotte and in Union County back in 2019 for Dan Bishop's special election. Everybody remembers that special election where we were out there knocking doors, making phone calls, and working hard to make sure he got over the finish line. We installed a lot of lessons and pilots during that election cycle to make sure that we fast forwarded our efforts to get out the vote, to focus on those low to mid propensity voters. And what we saw in that special election paid dividends, and we saw Dan Bishop be able to take that seat when many were thinking that that was a toss-up back then. And it was close all the way to the end. And especially even on election night, we're sitting there with Dan Bishop, sweating it out, and watching those last few precincts. Matt Judge, he was the campaign manager for Dan back then. And we're sitting in the war rooms. Folks, those lessons learned, we fast forward into 22 and into 24, making sure that we won early vote. When we win early vote, we win elections. Democrats, they run out of runway when we get to election day. And we're seeing it also pay dividends on our efforts for our voter registration projects, where we've focused on voter registration for the past dozen years as well. And we've seen that gap, especially since President Trump was elected 8 years ago in 2016, where Democrats had an advantage of 645,000 over Republicans. That gap today is 22,000. We are going to overtake Democrats in voter registration. This doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by circumstance. It happens with hard work, planning, execution, and everybody pulling in the right and same direction. And so it's been an honor to work with each and every one of you, to work with our counties, and especially our 2,600 precincts across the state. That is the backbone of our party. When we are organized at the precinct level, and especially now, where when we have control of the Board of Elections, and you're going to hear more of it from Dave, I am grateful because the Board of Elections and control of it means guidance that is put out. The guidance that we saw the last election cycle was devastating, and we continued to sue. We saw the DOJ sue just this week. Sorry, Dave, DOJ suing you. I support it. But it's the same lawsuits that we brought forward on the voter registration repeatedly. Where there are issues, we will continue to sue the Board of Elections. But I don't have that fear like I once did. I'm looking forward to being able to defend the Board of Elections and no longer have to pay those lawsuits and be able to fund those. So we're looking forward to making sure that with control of the Board of Elections, we are going to see our 2,600 precincts making sure that we have Republican judges who are calling balls and strikes, and when there are issues, taking care of it on the front end and making sure those ballots do not get in, because once they're in, you really can't have an opportunity to take them out. And that's what we've continued to see. So as we continue to move forward, especially now as we get ready into 26, we've got to continue to make sure we overtake Democrats on voter registration, because when we do, we turn out our people. We repeatedly turn out about 80% of our electorate, Republican voters, 80%. Voter turnout this last election cycle was 75% statewide. Republicans are overperforming. When we overperform and we're turning out our people, and when we have more voters registered, we win. And as we go into this critical 26th election, we've got to make sure that we're ready for the task, we're ready for the fight, and especially to be able to continue to send good Republicans to Raleigh. And I'm grateful for our legislators that are in the room and the fight that you are having for us, because it continues to make North Carolina the greatest place to work, live, and retire because of Republican policies. That's also what's driving the voter registration numbers, where people see common sense. They see America first, family first policies when we're talking about investments in education, making sure school choice is a priority, and public safety. So folks, it has been a privilege and an honor, and I ask for your ongoing support to be your state party chair next week at our state convention. Thank you, God bless.